Dear students, welcome again to the video tutorials. Today we will learn the 10th chapter from the textbook. It's a long reading text. The chapter is titled Mark Antony's Speech by William Shakespeare. Before we go into the chapter, very briefly, let's see some account of the author. As you can see on the screen, the author, William Shakespeare, a very well-known English playwright, a poet, and an actor. My dear students, he was also an actor who was regarded as the greatest writer in the English language, as well as the world's considered as the world's greatest dramatist, individuals who write drama to be staged on the stage. William Shakespeare was born and raised in Stratford upon Avon in Warwickshire, name of a place, okay, in England. In the year 1585 and 1592, that is between 1585 and 1592, he had begun a very successful career in London as an actor, writer, and part owner of a playing company called the Lord Chamberlain's Men. Okay, he was an owner with another co-partner. They own a playing company, a company that staged dramas, plays, etc. The company which is known as Chamberlain's Men, later known as the King's Men. Okay, this you might have heard, King's Men. Shakespeare produced most of his known works between 1589 and 1613. Most of his notable works that we see today are produced between 1589 and 1613. That was the year that he has produced most of his well-known works. Now, as the title suggests here, Mark Antony's speech, or Mark Antony's speech. What is this chapter about? We will have a very brief account of what this chapter is actually about, or what does this speech deals with. A brief introduction of the chapter. Mark Antony's speech is taken from the play Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar, a very well-known play by William Shakespeare. Later on, we will have a brief account of the play Julius Caesar. So this speech is an excerpt from the play Julius Caesar, taken from Act 3, Scene 2. This play has 5 acts. So the speech comes up from one of the character named Mark Antony in Act 3, Scene 2. Now the speech was delivered by Mark Antony. Mark Antony was one of the characters of the play, as well as Roman general, a good friend of Julius Caesar. Okay, this speech was delivered on the funeral service of the Roman general of the Roman Empire named Julius Caesar, a man who founded the Roman Empire. Now, Antony's speech, this speech is considered a very powerful speech. The speech is persuasive and a powerful example of the best oratory. Okay, oratory. He uses rhetorical device like personification. These are devices that or methods that you employ in your speech, so that your speech becomes more powerful, more enforced, more persuasive, more meaningful. So he uses rhetorical devices like personification, metaphor, imagery, hyperbole. Hyperbole, my dear students, if you are coming across this word for the first time, hyperbole is nothing but a deliberate or unintentional overstatement. Okay, deliberate or unintentional overstatement. What is an overstatement? Overstatement is actually a statement in excess of what is reasonable. Very simple. A statement in excess of what is reasonable, that is called hyperbole. It also employs pathos. Pathos is another rhetorical device. Pathos simply means an appeal to the audience's emotion. Okay, when you're delivering a speech, if you appeal to the audience's or audience emotion, such tactic is called pathos. He also employs logos, another rhetorical device. Now, logos is, as the name suggests, logical appeal. Okay, it's a logical appeal used in a speech. It is used to describe facts and figures. You know, the facts and figures will support the speaker's topic. When you are speaking on a certain topic, okay, you use a logical appeal to describe facts and figures that supports the speaker's topic. That is called the logos, etc. All these rhetorical devices or speech devices are used in this speech. Okay, why does he do that? He uses all these rhetorical devices to change the people from their previous stance and arouse them to violence and vengeance. Okay, things will be more clear in the subsequent slides. Why is Mark Antony trying to win over people to his side, and why is he trying to incite violence and vengeance, revenge? We will come to know in the later part of the play. Before we do that, let us see some facts and figures, or let's see some account of the person who delivers the speech. My dear students, remind you that this is not a full-fledged character sketch of Mark Antony. Okay, we will give you in notes, or a notes will be provided to you regarding Mark Antony's character sketch. This is some facts about Mark Antony. Mark Antony, or whose name is Marcus Antonius. Okay, English name commonly in English commonly he is known as Mark Antony or Antony. Okay, all these names are correct. He was a Roman politician as well as a general. Okay, a close friend of Caesar. He played a very critical role in the transformation of Roman Republic. Okay, Roman Republic from an oligarchy to the autocratic Roman Empire. Antony was also a supporter as well as a friend of Julius Caesar. He in fact served as one of Julius Caesar's general during the conquest of Gaul, as well as in the Civil War. The conquest of Gaul, my dear students, it refers to the Gallic Wars. Okay, this is a series of military campaign that was waged by Julius Caesar against several Gallic tribes, which was very victorious under the command of Julius Caesar, very closely assisted by his trusted lieutenant general like Marcus Antonius, Cassius, Brutus, etc. Okay, so Antony was one of the supporters of Julius Caesar, a staunch supporter at that. Later on, Antony was appointed as the administrator of Italy, while Caesar eliminated political opponents in Greece. While Caesar was busy capturing and eliminating his rivals in Greece, North Africa, and Spain, his general Antony was made the administrator of Italy. Now, after Caesar's death in 44 BC, okay, Antony, along with Marcus Aemilius Lepidus, another character in the play, and Octavian is the adopted son of Julius Caesar, as well as his great grandnephew. Okay, after Julius Caesar's death, the three of them, Antony, Lepidus, and Octavian, formed the second triumvirate. Triumvirate is nothing but a three-man dictatorship. A three-man dictatorship that rule over Rome. Okay, these triumvirs, they are called triumvirs 3. These three persons defeated Caesar's murderers, okay, Caesar's murderers, the conspirators, in the Battle of Philippi in the year 42 BC. Okay, this is a historical fact. Okay, so much about Mark Antony, the person who delivers the speech in Julius Caesar's funeral. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Let's see uh, the play Julius Caesar. Okay, a very brief account of the play Julius Caesar. You can see on the screen, Julius Caesar. It is listed as the tragedy of Julius Caesar. This is a history play and tragedy written by William Shakespeare that was first performed in the year 1599. Okay, very long time ago, 1599. This is one of the several plays by Shakespeare, written by Shakespeare, which is based on the true events from Roman history. Okay, from the Roman Empire, from the Roman history. The play is based on the true events that unfolded, okay, in Rome, in the Roman Empire. The play is set in Rome in 44 BC. Okay, the play depicts the moral dilemma. This play, it greatly depicts the moral dilemma, okay, the confusion of Brutus as he joins a conspiracy led by Cassius to murder Julius Caesar. Why? Because, in order to prevent Julius Caesar from becoming a dictator of Rome, Brutus believed that Julius Caesar was too much into power mongering, or too much greedy for power. He has become too ambitious, thinking that Caesar has become too greedy for power, too controlling, too ambitious. He joined with the other conspirators and murdered Julius Caesar. Okay, it was a big dilemma for him because Brutus was a very trusted and a very close, loyal friend of Julius Caesar. Now, after Julius Caesar's death, okay, after he was murdered, Rome was forced into a period of civil war. Okay, Rome was put into a period of civil war. The Republic, which the conspirators sought to protect and preserve, is lost forever. The Republic, the head of the state with elected representative. The Republic means there will be a head of state along with elected representative of the people. Okay, this is what they want to preserve regarding Rome. Rome had the head of state along with the representative of the people, elected representative of the people, the state assembly. This is what Brutus and his fellow conspirators wanted to preserve, thinking that Julius Caesar was out to capture power and become a dictator of Rome. Thinking that he is on the way to becoming a dictator of Rome, he was put to death. But what happened was the Republic, which the conspirators sought to protect and preserve, was lost forever. Okay, the play Julius Caesar. Five acts are presented in the play. Okay, very briefly we will go through the 5 acts. The first one is up on your screen. The 5 acts. We'll go very briefly. We will go through the 5 acts. Okay, and see what happens on Act 3, Scene 2. Excuse me, 1 second. Okay, Act 1, the play. Okay, it opens with Julius Caesar's triumphant return from war. He has gone out to conquer, to defeat, okay, his staunch enemy, military rival, Pompey, another great military general in Rome. His sons were his military rival. Julius Caesar has just defeated his arch rival, that is the sons of Bombay, name of a person. Okay, now during this victory parade in the marketplace, okay, soothsayer means somebody who foresees the future and predicts the future. Okay, a soothsayer comes up to him and warns Julius Caesar, as people were uh, partaking in the merriment. Okay, as they were taking part in the victory parade, a soothsayer comes up to Caesar and warns him, be aware of the Ides of March. Ides of March simply means the middle week of March, that is the 15th of March. Okay, this Ides of March is considered to be not good, but Caesar ignores the warning. Okay, now fellow senators. Okay, senator means the Senate. Senator means the elected representative of the upper house. Okay, of the upper house of the parliament, or upper house, that is the council. The fellow senators, Caius Cassius. Okay, he tempts Marcus Brutus, a trusted and a very efficient general of Caesar, to turn against Caesar. Caius Cassius does this out of jealousy. Okay, that Caesar was becoming very popular among the Roman citizens, so he tempts Marcus Brutus to turn against Caesar. Now, Brutus, although a very good friend, okay, he agrees. Brutus agrees. Why? Because Brutus thought that Caesar may be abusing power. Brutus thought that he might have become ambitious. Brutus thought that it is a threat to Roman Republic, thereby directly affecting the citizens of Rome. Brutus was an individual who will go to any extent to protect the Republic of Rome as well as the subjects of Rome. That's why, thinking that Caesar was becoming abusive in power and ambitious, he agreed to this conspiracy. See here, they fear that Caesar will accept offers to become the emperor of Rome. Okay, um, in fact, Caesar was offered the emperor of Rome 3 times. Now, what happens is this. Mm, Caesar may be abusing power. Okay, they fear that Caesar will accept offers to become emperor because he was gaining a lot of power recently and people treat him like a god. The subjects of Rome loved Caesar very much. They respected Caesar because of his ability, because of his credentials. In fact, the people of Rome started treating him like God, which did not go down well with Cassius. Cassius, like I mentioned earlier, was jealous of all this development with Caesar. Okay, Cassius, a very successful general himself, was greatly jealous of Caesar. Now, this is the first act. The second act. In the second act, Cassius, another individual, another general, another politician named Casca, and other conspirators, okay, they planted a false document, a letter, in Brutus' house to tempt Brutus to join them, so that they can assassinate or remove Caesar from power. Okay, the documents that was planted in Brutus' house was in fact not a document written by the subjects of Rome, but a letter or a document written by the conspirators themselves. Now, after doing so, the conspirators visit Brutus at night in his home, okay, and was persuaded to join them. Now, he was shown the forged letter. In the letter, it was in fact requested by the subjects of Rome to save Rome from dictatorship, to save Rome of its glory, to save Rome of its republic. Immediately, Brutus was taken in. He joined with the conspirators. Now, Brutus reads the letter, and after much debate, he joins the conspirators, okay, to save Rome. Now, they sit down and plan Caesar's assassination. They plan Caesar's death. Okay, that night Brutus is troubled, very much troubled, which was clearly seen by his loving and devoted wife Portia. Uh, Brutus' wife is named Portia. Okay, since Brutus was so much in conflict within himself. He had a very disturbing looks, um, but he refused to confide. Okay, he refused to share it with his devoted wife Portia. Now, on 15th March, Caesar's wife, okay, Caesar's wife, a very dedicated, a very loving wife named Calpurnia, urges Caesar not to go to the Senate. Senate is a building, name of a building where the state assembly is housed. Okay, it is like the in our state it will be like the state assembly where all the elected representative of the people, that is the member of legislative assembly, legislative assembly, the MLA, they will come and have a meeting to formulate plans and policies. Okay, and that building is called the Senate. Okay, that assembly is called the Senate, and the building that houses the Senate is called the Capitol. Okay, um, so the wife Calpurnia urges him not to attend the Senate, the assembly that day. Okay, why? Because she had a visionary dreams, a very bad dreams, and fears the omen of the overnight storm that night. Okay, on the eve of March 15, Rome was plagued by a fearful storm, as well as the wife had these very bad dreams. So she warned her husband not to attend the meeting, the assembly that day, because uh, she had a very fearful dreams, as well as she fears the omen of the overnight storm. Omen, my dear students, is something which portends. Portends means to serve as a warning. So a warning of the overnight storm seems to indicate something bad is going to come. But Caesar was somebody who deeply loved his subjects, who deeply loved his people. So he ignored all these warnings and went ahead to attend the meeting, the assembly. Now, coming to Act 3, okay, Caesar ignoring the soothsayer in the first place. A soothsayer has already warned him to be careful of the 15th of March, but he ignored. He ignored his wife's warning also and go to the Capitol. Like I mentioned just now, Capitol is the building that houses the Senate. Okay, at the Capitol, as he ascends the footsteps of the building, the Capitol, along with Antony. Okay, Antony was lured away. He was taken away by Caesar. Antony was lured away by uh, by some other conspirators on some false pretext. Okay, there Caesar, uh, and there they began stepping Caesar. Okay, with their knife, with their daggers, one by one, by each conspirators. Now, as Brutus was given the final blow, okay, by Brutus, as the final stepping was done by Brutus, Caesar utters the famous phrase. This is a very famous phrase. Okay, et tu Brute, then falls Caesar. This is from Latin. Even you, Brutus, then die. Then I shall die. Okay, it is made out that Caesar died more of a broken heart than because of the actual wound. Seeing that his best friend, seeing that his trusted friend, seeing that his trusted general was up against his life, made his heart broke. Okay, now Caesar falls dying. Now at Caesar's funeral, Brutus spoke. Okay, he tries to justify their action. Brutus tries to reason why they have to do away with Caesar. This is to save Rome and the Roman subjects. With this, the crowd were pacified, okay, to some extent, and he won over the crowd to his side. The crowd, the Roman subjects, are as of now very highly surcharged. Okay, the emotions are very highly surcharged at the moment. Now, against Cassius' advice, uh, Brutus was advised by Cassius not to allow Mark Antony to speak at the funeral. But you know, against Cassius' advice, Mark Antony was allowed to speak. Okay, at the funeral of Caesar, he was uh, allowed to deliver an oration. Okay, um, a ceremonial, a formal ceremonial speech oratory, okay, at Caesar's funeral. Now, my dear students, this is what is listed as the title of the subject, okay, in our English textbooks, Mark Antony's speech. This speech is actually a speech that was delivered on Caesar's funeral, his best friend, his loving general, okay. So now you know why the subject is titled as Mark Antony's speech. Now, Mark Antony, okay, Marcus Antonius, he goes up to the pulpit and begins his speech. He first mentions that he is here to bury and not praise Caesar. Okay, this is now the beginning of the speech, Mark Antony's speech. He also reminds the crowd, okay, as he continues, he reminds the crowd that the evil deeds and action of a man is remembered for a long time, but good deeds of a man are forgotten, are buried very soon. Okay, now you see his persuasive rhetoric, his persuasive speech. He toes the line of what Brutus said. You know, he tries to say what exactly Brutus has said earlier. That Brutus has said that Caesar has become ambitious. Okay, Caesar has become ambitious. He is getting more and more greedy for power. So he reminds the crowd that Caesar was ambitious, as well as reminding the crowd that Brutus was honorable, and Caesar has paid with his life because of his ambitions. Okay, now take a note of the word honorable. In the course of the speech, my dear students, Antony will be mentioning, in fact repetition, okay, will be repeating this phrase again and again. Brutus being honorable. Why he was doing so? Because he wanted to present initially he wanted to present Brutus in a very high esteem, and then give a fitting blow to his personality when he reveals the fact, okay, so that the fall is even more deeper. That was the idea. Now, Antony mentions that, if he Antony mentioned that he has Brutus' permission to address the crowd. Antony mentions that he is not here on his own volition, but he has the permission of Brutus to deliver this speech. He addresses the crowd because since Brutus and the others are all honorable, he has the permission and opportunity to be addressing the Roman crowd because Brutus has permitted, and Brutus and the others, okay, the other conspirators are all honorable. Again, he mentions the word honorable. He tells the crowd that Caesar was a good and a faithful friend. Okay, he tells the crowd, the Roman subject, that Caesar is a very good and a faithful friend, but Brutus says that Caesar is ambitious and Brutus is honorable. We have to take into account the honorable nature of Brutus. He says this. No wonder. I mean, no doubt, Caesar was a good friend of mine. He was a good and a very faithful friend of mine. But if Brutus says that he's ambitious, then Brutus is right and Brutus is honorable. He reminds the crowd after he delivers this. Okay, he reminds the crowd of Caesar's benevolent actions and of his refusal to accept the crown. Now, what is happening here is he tries now slowly he tries to let the crowd know of Caesar's goodness. Okay, Caesar has in fact brought many glory to the Roman Empire. When he came home victory, okay, when he came home victory with the riches or with the wealth and the captives from neighboring kingdoms or from neighboring power, okay, it has greatly benefited. It has added richness to the Roman Empire. He also reminds the crowd that during the festival of Lupercal, name of a festival in Rome, when the high priest offered Caesar the crown to be the emperor of Rome, he in fact refused Christ. Now, all this was been reminded to the crowd by Cassius. Okay, now as you can see here, and his refusal to accept the crown. But Brutus says, now in spite of all these goods, okay, Caesar bringing home riches or bringing home wealth after the war, from the from whomever he has conquered, he in fact refusing to accept the crown when it was offered to him. Okay, this he has done. But if Brutus says that he is ambitious, then Brutus is ambitious and Brutus is honorable. Again he repeats, okay, the word honorable. Then briefly he calls the crowd. After this he briefly berates the crowd. He calls the crowd for having lost a sense of reason. Okay, he calls the crowd for having lost their sense of reason. Why? Because they were not mourning, crying Caesar's death. And he points to the coffin and he says that his heart is in the coffin with Caesar. By now the crowd, has slowly swayed. People are the crowd in the crowd. People are already whispering that maybe Antony, Antony is the most noble, and maybe Caesar might have been wrong. People might have done, you know, something wrong to Caesar. This is what they have started now discussing among the crowd, because Antony has tactfully presented Caesar's case here. Okay, how he has brought on riches from the kingdoms that he had conquered, how he refused, the crown when it was offered to him. You know, all this. So now people's um, support to Brutus and the other conspirators has shaken. Now, when Antony speaks again, he says that if he were Brutus, okay, he says, if I were Brutus, he would move the crowd to mutiny. Okay, he would move the crowd to rebel. And at this point, he drops a hint at Caesar's will. Okay, he says that such a great general, if I was as great as Brutus, if I had the power of Brutus, I would have moved the entire Roman crowd to rebel. Okay, and to move the crowd to rebel, to avenge Caesar's death. At this point, he drops a hint at Caesar's will. A will, my dear student, a will is a legal document. Okay, if you have not come across this word earlier, it's a legal document. Uh, a formal declaration is a formal declaration of one's intent or an individual's intent concerning the disposal of one's property, wealth, and holding after death. Who will inherit what after the person has passed away? Okay, that is called the will, the legal document. Now he drops a brief hint at Caesar's will. Okay, and he claims that, you know, all of you will be moved. Okay, in fact, if you come to know of the Caesar's will, he claims that the Romans will be so much moved. Okay, now the citizens now demanded that Antony disclose the will. Antony read the will. Okay, everyone now wanted to know what was written in the will of Caesar. But Antony tells them to be patient. Okay, be patient, because knowing the will, if you know the will, then you might become enraged, thereby violent. Okay, by now the citizens' emotion is brimming over. Okay, citizens again demand that the will be read. Antony must will be read. The will. That is what they have started shouting now. Okay, Antony again refuses, citing, Antony refuses to read the will by saying that I have crossed all limits. I have crossed the limits set by honorable men. Okay, who step Caesar. Honorable men like Brutus and the conspirators has given me a time limit. How much should I say? How much should I speak? How much should I disclose? I have crossed all the limits. Okay. Now, by now, the mood of the crowd has undergone a considerable change. Okay, they are now highly surcharged. By now, in fact, the Roman subjects have start calling the conspirators as traitors. People have already now shouting and calling Brutus, Cassius, and the other conspirators as traitors. Okay. Now moving on to the next slide here. Antony now says he will read the will. Okay, but first ask permission to show Caesar's body. He says okay. He informs the Roman crowd, the Roman subject, that okay, if you all insist so much to know the will, I will read the crowd, but allow me first to show you all Caesar's body. Okay. He slowly descends from the pulpit. He comes on from the people, from the pulpit, and tells the crowd to prepare to mourn. Okay, and he points to the famous mantle. Famous mantle. Mantle is a piece of clothing, a garment. Okay, piece of clothing, somewhat like an open robe or a cloak. It's a figurative garment representing authority or status. The dress that was worn by Caesar. Okay, reminding the famous military victory, okay, of Caesar, and then showing the holes made by the knife of the conspirators. He showed the dagger hole, especially among the holes, especially the hole that was supposedly made by Brutus' dagger, which he calls it the most unkindest cut of all. Okay, Antony calls the cut made by Brutus' dagger knife as the most unkindest cut of all. Why? Because Brutus was a very loyal, a very good and a trusted friend of Caesar, which destroyed Caesar. His heart broke and he fell bleeding. Okay, now Antony declaims this fall. Antony claims that the fall of Caesar, the death of Caesar, okay, is not of Caesar's alone, but every countryman of Rome, of the Roman Empire. Okay, this loss, this death, this fall is not only of Caesar, but of all. Is a loss, is a death of all Roman subjects as well as the Roman Empire. He then pulls the cloth and he shows the crowd Caesar's corpse, the dead body, how badly he was stabbed to death. Okay, he displays the mutilated corpse of Caesar to the crowd. Now the crowd is enraged. Okay, beyond words, now they are enraged seeing the corpse. The citizen now vows vengeance, revenge, and they march out to commit the violent act. Okay, Antony calls them back. At this point, Antony calls them, he shouts and calls them back, saying the conspirator might have personal grievances. He says that, calm down, calm down. Maybe the conspirators have their personal grievances, which they can explain, which they will be in a good position to explain. So let them explain. Then he continues to say to the crowd, he continues to inform the crowd that he says that, see, I'm not a very good orator, I'm not a good speaker like Brutus, but I'm a very simple man. At this point, he showed them the Caesar's wound. Okay, he showed them Caesar's wound, the stab wounds made by the conspirators' knife or dagger. Okay, and says that it may speak for itself. See, I'm not a very good orator, but be a judge for yourself. I'm not a very good speaker like Brutus is. I'm just a very simple man. But you look at the wound. Let the wound speak for itself. He was trying to tell the crowd that you see for yourself who is at wrong here. Okay. Antony further says that if he was Brutus, okay, he would move the very stones of Rome to rise and revolt. He again says that if I was in a position, an authority of Brutus, then I would make all the Romans to rise up and revolt, okay, against this gruesome murder. Now, by now, the crowd is highly surcharged, filled with rage and anger. The people are now talking about burning Brutus' house and taking a revenge on the conspirators. Okay. Now, at this point, it's like adding more fuel to the fire. the raging fire. Antony reminds them of the will, okay, the will of Caesar, and he reads the will. Caesar, the will, the contents of the will. In the will, it was revealed that Caesar has left 75 drachmas. Drachmas, my dear student, is a former monetary unit of Greece. Okay, a unit of currency of Greece. Now this was replaced by the euro in the year 2002. Now they use euro. So for every male citizens of Rome, 75 drachmas was given. Okay, his work, private gardens, that means his private parks and garden as well as orchard was to be used by the people of Rome. Okay, free forever. Now this was disclosed. That was what was left behind by Caesar for his subject, which shows that Caesar greatly loved his subject. Caesar greatly loved uh, the Romans. Now, after hearing the will, okay, people overcame with emotion. They now overcame with emotion. Okay, they could no longer stop themselves. They were overcome with emotion. They were angry. They were sad. So they set out to set fire to the houses of the conspirators. Okay, whoever has conspired to kill, or whoever has assassinated Caesar, okay, their houses will be burned down and they'll be chased out of the city. Once the crowd leaves, okay, Antony thinks to himself, he declares that his work is done. Okay? As mischief was set afoot, okay, he said, now I've already set afoot the mischief. The crowd, in a highly surcharged emotion, they will take its own course of action. Okay, that's what he thinks to himself. Now in Act 4, okay, what happens was Brutus, Cassius, and the conspirators are driven out of Rome. Okay, now they are camping in the northern Greece. In Act 4, Brutus, Cassius, they gather an army in northern Greece. They are camping in northern Greece, raising an army to prepare to fight the forces led by Mark Antony. Mark Antony, in the meanwhile, has joined hands with the Caesar's great nephew, okay, great nephew, as well as the adopted son of Caesar, named Octavius, and a man called Lepidus, I've mentioned earlier. Okay, now both of these two camps, one led by Antony, Octavius, and Lepidus, the other camp led by Brutus, Cassius, and other conspirators. Okay, they are now in preparation for a showdown. Now away from Rome and home, Brutus and Cassius, they were not getting along very well. Okay, in fact, they have a lot of disagreements. They unfair and doubtful of the future. In fact, they had a quarrel also over funds, over money for their soldiers' pay. This goes to show that things are not good at Brutus and Cassius' camp. Okay, however, they compromise. They come to an understanding. They repent and prepares to fight, prepares to engage Antony's army at a place called Philippi. Okay, this again, okay, against the wishes or against the advice of Cassius. Cassius did not want Brutus to engage with Antony's army at Philippi, but Brutus went ahead with the plan. Now, before the war, okay, before the battle, Brutus receives this tragic news of his wife, Portia, who has committed suicide in Rome. Okay, this added more burden to his already stressful and burdened mind and heart. Okay, so he was at a great burden before the actual battle with Antony and Octavius and Lepidus. Okay, on the eve of the war, as he was taking rest at night, one night, okay, as he was taking rest on the eve of the war, Caesar's ghost appears to him. Okay, on the eve of the conflict, um, and because of this, he was unable to sleep. Caesar's ghost appears to him on the eve of the conflict as he tries to rest and he is unable to sleep. Okay, now burden as already he is. Okay, because now Brutus is not sure of the future. He is in constant conflict within himself. On top of that, he has received the sad news of his wife's suicide. Okay, burden as he already is. Now his moral is at all low. Okay, in Act 5, the battle is the battle unfolds. Okay, what happens in Act 5? The battle unfolds. At first, the Republicans, that is the camp that was led by Brutus, appears to be winning. Okay, um, however, soon they were slowly being overtaken by Antony and his army. Now, in this heated battle, Cassius mistakenly believes that his best or dearest friend Titinius was captured. In fact, Titinius was not captured. Titinius has made a brief victory over one part of the battle. Okay, and he was celebrating, surrounded by his soldiers. He was jumping and celebrating, surrounded by his soldiers, which was mistakenly taken by Cassius to be to have been surrounded by enemy soldiers, and thought that Titinius was already captured and taken. Crestfallen that his dearest friend is captured, he orders his servant. Okay, Cassius orders his servant to kill him, and he was killed by his servant in the battlefield. After finding Cassius' body, okay, unable to stand for himself, as well as the death of Cassius. Okay, and as the battle was slowly going over to the enemy's side. Okay, and Brutus, a very brilliant military general himself, knowing that he was up against, he was fighting a battle that cannot be won, he commits suicide. Okay, he first orders his soldiers to kill him, but since no one was willing to do that, he runs into his own sword. He commits a suicide. Okay, that is because he believes the only honorable option left to him now, okay, was to commit suicide, was to take his own life. Okay, and Brutus falls. The mighty Brutus falls. Now Antony, triumphant on the victorious on the battlefield. Okay, he praises Brutus and says that the noblest Roman of them all, and he orders a decent formal burial or funeral for Brutus. Then he and Octavius, okay, he and Octavius, the grandnephew of Caesar and the third son of Caesar, they return to Rome to rule Rome. Okay, so that is Act 5. These 5 acts are briefly presented to you because we are concentrating more on the actual speech rather than the play. Okay, I hope it is clear enough, my dear students. I hope you have followed. This is not very long but rather long, so I would advise you, my dear students, to watch the video, okay, again and again. Like I have mentioned earlier also, don't watch it at a stretch. It might bore you out. So take your time whenever you're comfortable, watch the video and try and understand. Okay, I have listed out this subject so that you can on your own also, you can read and understand this on your own. Okay, again, a reminder, these are not full-fledged sentences, okay, or sentence. These are just points, but anyway, you will, after seeing this point and reading the textbook, reading of the textbook is absolutely essential. You will understand the chapter better. Okay, notes, there are some question and answers that are given in your textbook on page number 118 and 119. Questions, answers will be provided to you. Okay, you don't have to worry. Meanwhile, keep learning your lessons. With this, we come to the end of this chapter, the final chapter. Okay, thank you, and we will get in touch with you guys again.